Welcome to Cat Scratch, the series where we learn how to play the unofficial Warriors adventure game. I'm Danny, and in this video, we'll be talking about combat.
Combat!
So, you want to know how to beat some enemies up? Alright. Unsheathe your claws and bare your fangs. Every cat is able to fight. Players all start with skills that can be used for combat. Let's take a look. Our combat skills are Swat, Bite, and Wrestle. The first two are pretty self-explanatory. Swat is a claw-based attack, and Bite is, well, biting people. As for wrestling, this is a good way to get an enemy vulnerable to your attacks. Imagine two cats tumbling into a ferocious ball of fur, hissing and spitting, rolling over one another to try and pin their enemy and get the upper paw. This is exactly the intent of Wrestle. Hey narrators, let's take a note. Most cats are equipped with claws and teeth. This is their basic layer of defense against any enemy, but Swat and Bite aren't always used for combat. Narrators, if a player is asking to attack or inflict some level of damage to something, it's a good rule of thumb to have them add their strength to that skill roll. This implies that they're using force, aggression. Though, feel free to get creative with your roll options depending on the situation. Whoa! Hold on there, warrior. Is it your turn yet? Initiative is important. It lets us know who goes first during a combat encounter. In the spirit of things, let's quickly go over some ideas. The Unofficial Warriors adventure game gives narrators some options on how to decide combat order. Feel free to mix and match or embed a few ideas. One way to decide initiative is roleplay. If a certain player started the combat, then it would make the most logical sense for them to react first. From there, the narrator may ask, who wants to go next? It's important to remember to record the turn order that has been agreed upon. If the enemies ambush the players, the narrator gets to go first. Otherwise, they can fit the enemy into the turn order how they see fit. Dice. Every player can roll a strength plus chase. The players with the highest amount of successes will go first. The order will cascade down from highest to lowest roll. Narrators, roll for your enemies as well to decide where they fit in the turn order. If some of your players have the same number, make them re-roll or flip a coin. Teamwork. Sometimes two players want to break up the monotony and go at the same time. Let them. Joint moves against an enemy is a unique way to spice up combat and inspire players to get more creative. Playbook. Depending on the type of playbook, certain players may benefit the team better by going first. For example, Stone Tellers can go first, then Warriors, then Healers. Mix and match in whatever way best suits the party. Reaction. Certain cats have reaction-based knacks. This means even if it's not their turn, they get to go first to briefly use said knack. Finally! You're in line and ready to attack. Do you remember our basic attack skills? Sweet! Let's go over how they work. Let's start off with Swat. On a successful hit, Swat does a base damage of 1. This is a basic attack. It's speedy and safe, allowing you some distance from your attacker. With each success your cat rolls, you may add that to the damage pool. Here's an example. Badgerfoot is attacking Windstrike. He rolls a strength plus Swat, which for him is a 5d6. The two 5s equate as 2 successes, and the 6 counts as a double success. This means he harms Windstrike for 4 points of damage. Bite. This is a strong attack, and one that can be a bit riskier. Your cat latches in close, clamping onto their opponent. Biting is nasty work. On a successful check, Bite does 2 points of damage. Add 2 bonus damage for every 2 extra successes. Let's look back at Badgerfoot and Windstrike's battle. Windstrike is going to bite Badgerfoot. He rolls his strength plus bite, which is a 46. 2 5s and a 4. The first 5 counts as success, allowing Windstrike to inflict 2 points of damage. Thanks to the second 5 and additional 4, that grants another 2 damage, meaning Windstrike hurts Badgerfoot with 4 points of harm. Hey players, let's take a note. Notice how Badgerfoot and Windstrike did the same amount of damage to one another? Biting can be very deadly, but Badgerfoot has the advantage of more points being in his Swat skill. This goes back to an important detail in character creation. If you want your cat to be good at something, you should put more points into that skill. Keep that in mind while you're leveling your cat up. Our last form of damage is poison. This is seen to be a fox-hearted attack. While engaging in a role-playing game, it's easy to forget that in Warriors, it's dishonorable to kill the enemy. It should happen if only necessary, or maybe you're not that good of a person, depending on what kind of character you're playing. Poisoning another cat can be seriously deadly, especially if they don't have access to an antidote. When an enemy is successfully poisoned, they start off by only taking 1 damage. However, they keep taking damage at the start of their turn based on how many successes the player has rolled. This continues until the successes run out or the enemy dies. Let's go back to the fight. Say Badgerfoot has an ally, a nightshade named Venomfang. Venomfang has poisoned Windstrike earlier in the battle, meaning that when Windstrike went to bite Badgerfoot, he had taken another point of damage in the process. Woof. He isn't looking too good anymore, is he? I've been showing this chart to demonstrate damage to you, but I want to be clear in stating this is the official way we mark damage in the game. This chart should be on every character sheet. If you're more familiar with games that use hit points, which are numbers to calculate how much health a player has, this may look a little intimidating, mainly because look how squishy your cats are! Especially after the Windstrike demonstration, you may be wondering, how will I ever survive? This chart not only shows the risk of combat, but the price of being injured as well. Note how each level of damage has a negative number beside it. With each tick of harm, the player will experience a penalty. These numbers are how many dice you subtract from your roll. As you can see, it can really tally up. Why such a punishing consequence? Well, think of it this way. Getting hurt weakens you. Your blows don't land as hard, your eyes grow bleary, you're losing blood, you aren't invincible. Hey players, let's take a note. Say you reached a point where you're pretty banged up, and, oh man, the amount of dice you usually roll completely subtracted. Does that mean you roll no dice at all? Well, no. In order to keep yourself engaged in the game, we suggest you roll just 1 dice. Damage isn't the only thing that can happen during combat. You probably noticed me using terms like pin. This is a combat effect. During combat, certain knacks or moves may affect the player or an enemy. These can alter combat and may give your players an upper hand if used. Narrators, this can also make enemies and allies a bit more dangerous. Let me quickly cover all the different effects that you can experience in combat. Prone. If a player is knocked prone, that means they cannot move for their entire turn. The player has been briefly rendered immobile and cannot play until their next turn. Pinned. Being pinned is very similar to being prone. A pinned player cannot move. However, they can break the pin in order to regain their turn. Every turn that you are unable to break the pin, you remain pinned. Confused. A player that is confused has disadvantage on all intelligence-based rolls. Afraid. A player that is afraid will stop everything and run away from combat. Poisoned. Players who are poisoned take 1 point of damage on their turn until given an antidote or until the poison is ineffective. Players, for the most part, are defenseless. They start with nothing but their wits, so their only baseline of defense is their own dexterity. And hey, great news, cats are famously extremely dexterous. They're basically ninjas. Players have plenty of methods to get out of harm's way. Let's take a look. Jump! Jumping is a good way to try and avoid any attack. Leaping out of the way is a classic cat instinct. Just spring into the air and maybe they'll miss you. Swat. A cat can use swat to counter another swing or bat away some fierce fangs. Not today. Wrestle. Fight fire with fire. Wrestling can help your cat get another into a pin. This is a great way to foil another cat's plans. Chase, swim, and climb. Sometimes running away is the answer. Any roll involving movement can help a cat escape. When using a defensive maneuver, your cat must outroll its enemy, meaning if the attacker has less successes than your roll, you've successfully dodged out of the way. But if a player has rolled lower than the enemy, their cat isn't safe from the harm coming their way. Of course, there are also knacks like Dash, allowing you to quickly run away from a dangerous situation, or Hide, making you completely unseen to the naked eye. Knacks are instant successes, so if you don't want to leave things up to the dice, knacks are another way to get out unscathed. So, you have a few chances of escaping trouble, but what if your cat isn't super strong in these areas? Or the chance of harm still frightens you? Well, aside from the fur on your back, cats may also wear armor to deflect oncoming blows. Armor grants your cat protection, which means there's a certain number of damage it deflects. Fluffy is the base armor that you can choose. This grants 1 protection. To use Badgerfoot as an example, if he's hit with 3 points of damage, he'll deflect 1, meaning he only takes 2 points of damage thanks to his fluffiness. When first making your character, you could choose to make them fluffy or not. Say you don't want to start with armor though, but you don't fully want to be defenseless. Good news. If you choose not to go with fluffy, you can get a +1 to any evasion skill of your choosing. Other armor types include Thorn Armor. This grants 1 protection and 1 harm to an enemy. Thorns are dangerous, they can rip up an attacker, which makes this pick kind of fun and interesting. Clay Armor, which is basically just smearing mud all over yourself, can grant 2 protection. Leather Armor grants 3 protection, and Bone Armor grants 4 protection. Narrators, let's take a note. All these kinds of armor are basically examples. You can always feel free to change things or reword stuff, or make new kinds of armor. Everything I write in the game is just a suggestion, a fun thing to bounce off of. Now, how do we help ourselves if we do get damaged in battle? Of course, cats can help one another ease pain or even counteract the damage inflicted on them. Intelligence plus Medicine is a check any cat can make in an attempt to heal a comrade in a fight. With the aid of herbs and poultices, players get a better chance at helping or saving another cat's life. Let's review different means of healing. As I mentioned earlier, all cats can try to make a medicine check. On a success, a medicine check heals a cat for 1 point of health. Add 1 bonus heal for every extra success the player has rolled. Using the correct herbs and poultices can better a cat's odds for healing. Applying or swallowing herbs can heal a cat for 2 points, just flat out. But, if a player chooses to pair the use of herbs with a medicine check, this adds a +2 recovery for every 2 extra successes. During battle, you may be using knacks to better your odds, though expending chips can lead to exhaustion. Having a quick nibble of prey can recover up to 3 of your knack chips. After combat, cats can rest and allow time for recovery. There are 2 types of downtime players can choose from. Cat nap is a quick rest. It allows recovery of half of your cat's health and chips. If a player needs more time to recover, they can make a camp. This allows a full recovery of health, knacks, and chips. Now, we know everything we're capable of doing. So what happens when we're on the battlefield? What are all the actions I can take? Every player is able to make 1 skill check and use 1 knack. Their free actions are movement and speaking. Some players may make multiple skill checks on their turn. It depends on what the narrator is asking of them. But in that situation, that player is still granted their 1 skill check and their 1 knack. That was a lot of information, wasn't it? Let me try my best to simplify the important details. Every cat comes equipped with combat skills Swat, Bite, and Wrestle. Initiative helps us decide the order in which we attack. Damage is based on the number of successes you rolled. Swat deals +1 for every success, and Bite deals +2 for every 2 successes rolled. Damage will subtract the amount of dice you roll. All cats have the defensive skills Jump, Swat, Wrestle, Chase, Climb, and Swim. Cats may wear armor to defend against blows, or choose to increase their defense skills instead. Health may be increased using the medicine skill and herbs. A catnap recovers half your health and chips. Camps recover everything. A player gets to use one skill and one knack on their turn. Movement and talking are free actions. If you have any further questions, feel free to look inside this video's description and click on the link tree below. Inside it has our Discord server, where there are many skilled players and narrators eager to help. Now go on, warriors! Adventure awaits!